I wanted to make a video about gastric bypass, only because it's starting to worry me that people are seeing it as a quick weight loss fix. And if you've done your research, then you would find out that it is not a quick fix. I had gastric bypass, I think in 2003 or 2004. I can't remember now. I think it was 2004. And initially I lost almost 100 pounds. A lot of information needs to be found out still about the long-term side effects of gastric bypass, because I think people are blinded by the short-term results. And of course the short-term results are instant weight loss, smaller clothing size, smaller shoe size because your shoes or your foot does shrink, lots of things that of course women want. What they don't talk too much about are things like the deficiencies that you may tend to have if you don't eat properly and if you don't take the proper vitamins. The malabsorption problems, the inability to eat certain foods forever. And that to me is kind of the scary part. I was told that with gastric bypass you have a golden year. You have one golden year where you will continually shrink. And in that golden year you need to work out like you've never worked out before. Unfortunately, in that first year, when I began to work out and do water aerobics, I had a stinging in my left foot, and it turned out to be a torn tendon. That torn tendon, to make a long story short, was found out a little too late. And this was after I'd been fitted with orthotics, after, you know, different wraps for my foot, everything. So my golden year was gone throughout all of this pain. So I went ahead and had the tendon surgery, which was not only painful, but I felt like it kind of set me back because I was bedridden for the most part. And that was about 6 to 8 weeks. So after being almost bedridden for about 6 to 8 weeks, and I eventually had a walking cast on. 2 months after that, I was walking on a sidewalk, tripping, but somehow I lost my footing. It was the softest, most graceful fall I've ever had, because I fell into some very soft grass. However, upon falling, I heard a crack and a snap. I fractured my leg and I broke my right ankle. So there was an immediate surgery, of course, and I was bedridden again for another 6 to 8 weeks because I had already had surgery 2 months prior on my left foot. So I actually did go back to work with 2 walking casts on, and the company that I worked for is pretty huge, so my husband and I had to rent a scooter for me to get around. Mind you, this whole time, the only way that I'm able to take advantage of the surgery, the gastric bypass surgery, is to make sure that I am eating correctly. There is a certain way that you actually have to eat your food. You have to chew your food a lot. And then you have to wait 30 minutes to drink. So that's really hard. That is really hard to remember, because so often we eat, chew a little, swallow, drink, eat, chew a little, swallow, drink, eat. Well, basically what that does is that forces all the food out of your stomach and directly into, you know, your intestines. So it's not even having the ability to break down the food into the nutrients that you need in your body. It's going straight through and you're getting nothing but calories. So upon that bad habit, I gained weight, actually about 30 pounds. So then last year, through the course of eating correctly, and your stomach is smaller, so you eat less and less than you did before, I, through the course of the year, lost about 25 pounds. So I'm just now getting back to the weight that I originally was almost 4 years ago. Upon doing all that, I'm still reading in magazines where gastric bypass patients from 15 years ago are now having problems seeing because of a vitamin deficiency. There are some that are having very brittle bones because they're not getting calcium they get. I have to be checked every 4 to 6 months to make sure that my body has all the vitamins and minerals that it needs. I take a legion of vitamins. I take B12, I take calcium, I take vitamin C, I take, I can't remember everything that I take because it's just, I'm so used to just taking it in one fell swoop. I take about 5 to 6 pills every morning, and just so that I can maintain all the nutrients that my body needs because of the poor malabsorption that I have, because of gastric bypass. The other thing a lot of people aren't aware of is the amount of protein that you need to consume. Now, I wasn't even eating red meat before surgery at all. Hadn't eaten red meat in probably 12. I think now I'm going on about 20 years not having. And that's the very thing that you need to eat, because if you don't, you will begin to experience hair loss, which I did begin to experience hair loss. And my hair kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Well, now, my hair is short for a totally different reason. My fear in saying all of this is that people are going to see it as a quick fix. Yes, it appears to look like that from somebody on the outside. One person that apparently used to weigh over 300 now all of a sudden weighs 175. They look fabulous, and so you think, oh, that's great. I'm a little over 100 pounds. I think I'm going to do the same thing. Not the case. Ask them questions. Ask them if you really want to know how they're coping. Ask them questions. People come to me when they know that I've had gastric bypass and they ask me questions. I tell them the truth. I'm 4 to 5 years away from the surgery, but there are still things that I can't eat. Just last week, for some reason, I had some rice, which doesn't typically bother me, but for some reason this day it did. And you know what? It didn't stay down. It just depends. It depends on what, I don't know. Sometimes it's what's cooked, like grilled fish. My husband grilled it, and it was not tender enough for me to eat. So when I attempted to eat it, it didn't stay down. If I eat any type of meat, it has to be so fork tender. If it's not, I'm not going to eat it. So you think, okay, with all that adjustment of your food and the small amounts that you eat, how do you keep weight on? Well, you become a normal person after a while, and that if you don't work out, you don't burn calories. You don't burn calories, you gain weight. So, at the beginning of the year, my best friend and I had committed that we were going to go do water aerobics every three times a week. Make sure we did something at home 2 times a week. And we were on fire. We were going strong until the end of February, where I ended up having some really horrific back pain that turned out to be a pinched nerve. That was February 20th. I ended up going to emergency because the pain was so great. Tried to go back to work. My last day at work was February the 25th. And I have been in therapy every single day since then to try to get back to work. So, no working out. Can't do the pool thing. Can't do anything that would, elevate my heart rate because of the pinched nerve. I still currently have. It's just not as bad as it used to be.